differences between, injectable, topical, what are some of the other modes and modalities out there, and which one is going to be your kind of preferred way of taking testosterone?
So in general, 3 options. There's injectable, there's topical, and there's pellets. The fourth one would be oral, which I typically don't recommend. There's a new FDA approved one that just came out recently that's oral. But in general, we've always worried about the liver in the past. And the new one, I just can't get levels up where you need them with the oral. But in general, it's injectable, pellets, or topical or pellets. And I always steer guys initially at least toward the injectable. So the injectable, in the past, it was always intramuscular injection, so big needle into your butt or into your thigh, quad muscle. We now recognize that you can do a subcutaneous injection and get similar benefits and results. And so I personally recommend that for all my guys. I do it myself as well, sub-Q, tiny insulin needle in the belly, just next to the belly button. And we typically recommend
taken more frequently because you're taking a lower amount.
Yeah. So that's actually absolutely the key. That the more frequent, the better. So back in my old days, before I knew anything, when I was a budding urologist 25 years ago, we would give 200 milligrams, 1 ml every 2 weeks. And now we realize how bad that was, because you're causing these big spikes and then it plummets, and then you have all these valleys all this time where your levels are low. And so the more frequent lower dosing is better. And so ideally it'd be every day, but from a compliance standpoint, from a lifestyle standpoint, no guy can realistically be expected to do it every day. 3 days a week would be awesome. Most guys, it's about twice a week, 3 times a week is kind of the sweet spot that you can get guys to do it. And the dosing really varies on your metabolism, how much muscle mass you have, and so we test. We'll give what we think is a good dose for you, and then we'll test, and we're constantly fine tuning because those numbers can change so much. Yeah. But to answer your question, injectable first, topical. All the alcohol-based gels that you can put in your chest and shoulder, I never recommend them. I used to use them in my old days before I knew anything. I can't get your levels high enough with those. As hard as I ever tried, they just don't work, honestly. What I will, if someone desperately wants topical, I'll use a Versa-based cream that you can actually apply on the scrotum. And the scrotum is used because it has amazing absorption. It's incredible absorption. And I can get your levels as high as I need them with a small little daily topical dose of cream. The downside is you got to use it every single day because it wears off. The half-life is so short that it'll wear off very quickly.
And you notice, miss a day? Are you noticing the effects of something like that?
Well, yeah, your levels will be in the tank. So if you put it on this morning, by tomorrow morning, it's completely out of your system. It's pretty much gone. Yeah, and so some guys will have low T and don't necessarily feel it on a day-to-day basis. Other guys have dramatic symptoms. But nonetheless, if you skip a day, your levels are in the tank.
Your tank, yeah. And then where does peptides come into the protocol, and how are they affecting testosterone? How are they affecting the DHEA? How are they affecting some of these other hormones that we talked about? And I know there's a lot of different ones out there, so let's kind of explore that here a little bit.
So peptides are awesome. Peptides are simply short proteins. So for the listener to understand, a peptide is simply a short protein. A protein is simply a sequence of 100 amino acids in length or longer. If it's 50 to 100 amino acids in length, it's a polypeptide. Anything shorter than 50 amino acids in sequence is specifically called a peptide. So that's all it is, a short peptide. Insulin is a peptide. Growth hormone is a peptide. And all peptides are actually endogenous signaling molecules, meaning these are signaling molecules that your body already makes that have very precise functions that have been identified as incredibly powerful that they can now replicate and synthesize. So, for example, there are peptides that are great for boosting growth hormone. So we know as we age, growth hormone levels decline, and that can affect sleep quality. It affects our ability to build muscle and burn fat. It can affect really the aging process. And so there are peptides that specifically will not be synthetic growth hormone that has some negative consequences, but instead can tell your pituitary, hey, make more growth hormone. So peptides for immune function. So when I had COVID back March 2020, when shit hit the fan, I had 4 peptides that were great for immune function that helped me recover from COVID. They're peptides for inflammation, whether it's inflammation in a joint. So for example, I had tennis elbow, and I used 2 different peptides, one that reduced inflammation in the joint and another one that helped with musculoskeletal repair and recovery. There are peptides for gut health, gut inflammation, peptides for weight loss. And there are a lot of different peptides for weight loss depending on what's the cause. So for some people with weight loss, it may be cravings, it may be can't stop eating. So it helps with hunger and satiety. Other peptides help with metabolism. Others help, like semaglutide is the biggest crave right now. And semaglutide is a peptide that mimics GLP-1, basically. GLP-1 is made by your gut. And when you have issues with blood sugar, insulin sensitivity, your gut doesn't make GLP-1. And so semaglutide is a way that can help suppress hunger and improve blood sugar regulation. Peptides for improving sex drive, arousal, libido. Peptides for erectile function, for boosting performance, building muscle, anxiety, sleep, almost anything you can imagine, there are peptides for. And the beauty of them is they are simply amino acids. They're simply short proteins, and they're signals that your body already recognizes. So, for example, the thymus gland is in the neck when in the throat when we are young, and it atrophies, it shrinks away at a very young age, and is gone the rest of your life. There are amazing immune cells from the thymus gland that are actually involved in longevity. And epitalin is a peptide, 2 amino acids in length, simply 2 amino acids put together. And it's been shown in animal studies to extend lifespan and reduce the incidence of cancer. Pretty cool stuff. So that's the power of peptide. It's icing on the cake of everything else that we've talked about.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. If there's a guy out there that still, after hearing our conversation today, is still on the fence about maybe the TRT, the hormone replacement therapy, would peptides be an alternative before? But what I think I heard you say is optimize it there, and then boom, this is going to kind of take you to the next level.
It's going to take it to the next level. If you have suboptimal testosterone levels, peptides are not going to be the best approach there.
It's not going to get you from the 6 to the 20.
No. Now, kisspeptins is one peptide out there that has been shown to help with boosting testosterone levels. I've never seen it have that much of an effect, and that's not necessarily the best way long term that you want to be supporting testosterone. So, for guys out there who maybe don't want to take testosterone for whatever reason, bias that it may be, as wrong as they may be, kidding. There are other ways that we can stimulate your body to produce testosterone other than simply give you testosterone. But one way or the other, you got to get your levels up. Yeah, and peptides can't fix that.
Yeah, you gave a great example, and I know there's going to be a big majority of the audience going to resonate with that 44, crushing it, executive, entrepreneur, maybe running a firm, something like that, just tired, exhausted. So he doesn't even have the time in his schedule to optimize some of these things. But there's going to be a segment of our audience that now is maybe in their mid to late 20s, maybe possibly even early 20s, but they've recognized, hey, some of these generational things. I can remember, going through puberty, boom, I instantly kind of had, the man boobs there, and it's something they've struggled with their entire life. When is it too early for a man to look at getting on some testosterone replacement therapy?
Yeah, any guy who is considering having children. So I've seen guys in their 30s and they're single, and they're like, yeah, I may want to have kids eventually. I'd be really careful there. If a guy's married and they just had a kid, for example, and he wants testosterone, I would be really sure they don't want another one before you give testosterone. It does suppress production of sperm. And so that's the situation where I might hold off on T and give other things. We can use HCG, we can use Clomid and Clomiphene, other ways of stimulating testosterone. Yeah.